Rev up your engines! All right, here we have over $150,000 Mercedes, brand new, and it's had all kinds of problems. Now, this is a V8 bi-turbo, all-wheel drive Mercedes, and it says AMG on it. But things are not what they seem. Kind of fudging things here, just like my Triumph motorcycle. British flags, ah la 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 la. But if you do a little research, I go through the VIN number of my British motorcycle, right? It was made in Thailand. They do a better job than the Brits do, but nobody does a good job at making Mercedes more than the Germans themselves in Deutschland. Let's look at the door. And what does it say? All right, it says, manufactured in Alabama, Tuscaloosa County. Under contract for Mercedes-Benz, Stuttgart, Germany. So it was made in Alabama. Now, he paid over 150 grand for this car, looked at it in California, had it shipped to the East Coast. Here's what it started out with. You notice the noise when he closed the passenger door. It turns out there was weld spatter here. Sloppy job welding and not buffing. That it wore the paint off here, and he had to argue with them and fight back and forth just to get it fixed correctly. Now, it's got a great sound system, there's no arguing that, but so far, 3 of the speakers were blown and rattling, and he had to get them replaced. A little bit of quality loss there. Listen to all these electronics. It's certainly got electronics up the wazoo, but the most annoying thing for him is this.
Interference detection. Active.
The mirror talks to him. It whistles. It was not made correctly, and they said they have no idea when the mirror is going to come in and be able to get one to get rid of the whistling noise. It's a $150,000 car. Now that would annoy the heck out of me. As you can see, this car is loaded with technology. It's absolutely insane, the technology in his cars. The LED colors, the speakers, but then again, 3 of the speakers are broken already. Paddle shifters. You can do it electronically. You can fiddle around with all kinds of sensors. The transmission to make it no manual mode. You can turn the traction control off. Now, as we open the hood, the owner pointed something out. His windshield squirting fluid's always leaking out because this doesn't fit right. And you may or may not believe this, but he told me they said, well, we could put another one in, but it'll do the same thing because they all do that. This is on a $150,000 car, mind you. This isn't a Yugo. This isn't some cheap little Fiat. This is a $150,000 car. These are tightened so tight, the plastic was cracked, so they had to replace the whole front grille. Let's just say those boys in Alabama who are building them, they don't build them like they do in Deutschland. Now, the engine itself is a marvel of technology, and as you can see, handcrafted! This is extremely complex. It has a mild hybrid system, which now puts out a lot of power. But I'm kind of wondering, hey, this is a new car and it's had all these problems already. What's going to happen when this thing is 5-6 years old? If that hybrid system starts breaking down, did you ever take a car to the Mercedes dealer and then just about scream when you see what it's going to cost? Well, with a hybrid, you're going to scream twice as loud. Now, there's no arguing. It's a beast. It's got tremendous brakes, good Pirelli tires on it, aerodynamic, and now he could probably sell it for 20 grand more than what he paid for it. Maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea to do that, you know? Now, he had some idling problems that they worked on, but he's still not totally satisfied. Let's get my computer and take a look at this thing. But before we do, you can see I got my jacket on. It's getting colder here in New England. Came with summer tires. He told me there's no option for all-season tires, so he had to go get winter tires for it now. So hook up the outscan tool. At least the Germans are logical here. Look, they have it in a nice, easy place to get to. Fight computers with computers. Do intelligent diagnosis. And here we go. We know what it is. Loading the data. This is a fast machine on a fast car. It still takes quite some time to even go through the beginning of the system because there is so much stuff on this car. All that previous stuff was just to load the information. Now it's doing a simple scan. The machine itself knows I've got this connected because it knows there's an analytical machine aboard. But the 2 computers talk to each other. It did the preliminary one, now it's doing another one. There's a lot of stuff that has to be go through. Luckily, they're all green so far. Now realize this vehicle only has 21,000 miles on it. But here we go. Look at the codes. Transmission control module. Communication with the electronic ignition lock has a malfunction. Communication with the steering column module has a malfunction. Communication with one or more color generation and coupling modes on line bus 6 has a malfunction. The message is missing. That's all these colors. That system itself is acting up. Implausible data were received from control unit radar sensors. The instruction counter is not updated. Now the multifunction camera. Communication with electronic ignition lock has a malfunction. Implausible data was received from the head unit. An incorrect signal. The radar signals. The ECO start-stop. This is one of those start-stop systems. This thing's broken down already. More communication faults. The communications for the telematics services has a problem. The audio has a problem. The instrument cluster has a problem. There is a general electrical fault. Well, good luck with all this electronics figuring out where the general electrical fault exists. Perhaps the most amusing part. This active body control is a known recall. He took it back to the dealer and they said they fixed it. Well, let's see. It's got 2 codes. They certainly did not fix it. Get the problem here. You can see the software was supplied by Continental. They're not even doing their own software on this thing. I've never even heard of their software, so obviously it's got problems. There was a recall, he took it in, they said they fixed it, but obviously not, because it's still there. It's still a code there. Now the problem with the Mercedes is they're so complex. Look at this, we're just going into some simple things, and we'll go into something like air conditioning. Look at all the information you have to go through. The line bus. Just go into things that you think are simple. It's kind of like following Alice in Wonderland down the rabbit hole. Things are a lot more complex than you think they are. Look, the dealer said they fixed the problem. They didn't even fix it. And this is a known problem. Imagine when it's an unknown problem. No one's ever going to figure out how to fix these things. I met a German mechanic years ago, and he said, Scotty, he says, you know, in Deutschland, they just wanted to make cars. 4 years, you throw them away and buy a new car. And he said that to me 10 years ago. Today, it's even doubly so. I can't believe this, but they have a thing for perfume atomizer generator you can check. So basically, the Germans have lost their minds with technology, and if you buy one of these and it breaks, you may lose your mind trying to get the stupid thing fixed. I mean, come on, they got these Alabama guys putting it together, and they're not doing such a hot job from all the problems that it had just from the get-go. Imagine when this thing gets to be 5 or 6 years old, and it starts having serious electronic problems. Now I could go on and on and on. But my old friend in Houston, Herr Schmidt, he's long gone, he told me over a decade ago, he said, Scotty, even I, who've been working on these cars for 50 years, and that's all he worked on was Mercedes. He said, I don't know 10% of how this stuff even works anymore. And he had even a fancy one of my machine. He had the actual Mercedes star tester. And he said, I'm not going to go back to class for this. He sold this business to another guy, moved back to Germany. He gave up with it. Now the owner told me he likes the car, but he doesn't like all the problem it has. And he said he's only going to keep it under warranty. So he's probably going to go out and buy an extended warranty that goes 7 years and 100,000 miles and then get rid of it before then. Now, if you watch any of my videos about warranties, I say they're a bunch of bunk. In this case, no, because his tires were $3,500. You can imagine when this thing goes wonkers, they will have to fix it with a warranty like that. And in a car with all this technology, all this craziness, you gotta have a warranty on it. Let me tell you, this thing is just, it's a mild hybrid on top of it. So, I mean, you're really talking about technology up the wazoo. Now, they used to say, they build them great in Deutschland. Solid. Well, I kind of disagree in this case because the guy was in traffic. 2x5 ladder fell off a truck and he hit it, right? It was $23,000 of damage to this car. This is not built like a tank. 23 grand for hitting a little bitty 2x5 ladder. You know, I had a guy the other day, he came with a Toyota and he hit something. And it was, I didn't even know it was wrecked, and it was fixed, and it wasn't that big of a deal. That was twice what he paid for the entire Toyota car, just to fix the damage of a 2x5 ladder that he hit because he couldn't swerve out of the way because there were people on each side. So if you want insane speed in an SUV, and you got $150,000 burning a hole in your pocket, and you don't mind those Alabama boys that are a little bit slack on their quality control, I think I'll buy a house instead. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.